Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Barter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. I would say wet, but it's not really raining at the moment. It just kind of was before. And yes, I'm next to a noisy road again. I do apologise, but I am living up to a promise I made before, which was, of course, that I would be back. Oh wait, you can't see it yet, never mind. I'll show you when we get closer. Okay, might as well just get into it because, you know, I've got to be back soon. There's lots to do. There's also a cyclist here. I'm going to have to get out of the way of here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a bit of a dodge around. Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's the bridge. The one that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I said I was going to return to 1 week ago, but I didn't know we got not going to go to Crawley, so here we are. Once again, and we are actually at the main town. Because sure enough, I figured out exactly where to actually go. Alrighty. Yeah, it's definitely in the opposite direction the whole time, honestly. So yeah, about to cross the bridge for the first time in probably a decade, not gonna lie. It's a momentous occasion. I hope it was worth it because I picked a side with all of the roadworks and can't cross over now. So that was a bad idea. Okay, so while I do that, I'm just gonna go over stuff because lots to go over. I mean, in this week alone, I've posted no less than 12 videos. And when I say this week, I mean since last Walking Wednesday. That's the 12th one, or the first one, depending on which way you're counting. And there we go. That was it. What an anticlimactic moment. No, but really, I've missed this place. Probably one of the only times I've really actually enjoyed going around and not necessarily the shopping part, but at the very least the play areas around. That's how long ago it was. And also just seeing the sights and such. Gotta love it. Okay. So, where to begin for this week? Because there's a lot that went on, a lot that didn't go on. Buttercall Live, for example, still has not come out. The 12 days before Christmas thing was not such, but at least I managed to give people a week heads up. I think BB intends to put it out today, from what I understand. So, yeah. Speaking of stuff I intend to put out, people might recall that I actually decided, I had to cancel a stream yesterday because well, not actually, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before. Because at the time, my computer was rendering a massive video. Normally, as a rule of thumb, I don't tend to render things until like the night, or really whenever I'm not live. So yeah, the only reason I did it this time was because I just couldn't stop the process. It took over a day. I'm pretty sure overall it took about 25-ish hours or something, maybe more. Well, the video itself, I mean, it was 20 hours long. I say only. And yeah, so there I am yesterday, trying to finally upload the video that was supposed to, if only if 45 people or so watch that video all the way through, I would actually get enough watch hours to be monetized. But as it turns out, fate was not on my side there, because it turns out you can't post videos on YouTube that are longer than 12 hours anymore. That didn't used to be the case. In fact, the world record is something like several days. So, yeah, YouTube has a time limit now that I was not aware of until I looked up. They said video is too long. So, probably going to have to split that one in two, honestly. Because I went through the effort of downloading it and timestamping a bunch of the videos. So, yeah, but prepared to see Pixelmon in 2 parts rather than the one that I was intending for, because that was like, you know, it would have been a nice wrap over, because I don't think we managed to conclude too much in terms of episode 30 in there, because it wasn't very intended to be the finale, but it was in the Pixel month. Why am I waiting? The lights are green. I think I'm mildly out of it. Okay. Right, here we are. That's where some of the playing areas were. And also where a random elderly woman one time holding a teddy bear mumbled something at me that I don't actually know what it was. And also, the first TK Maxx I saw ever. Because beforehand, it was living in the US, I thought it was just TJ Maxx, but no, apparently it's TK Maxx everywhere else. Which, honestly, should not surprise me. Oh well. Oh, there's a whole nice display over there. Okay, I'm gonna veer that way. Anyways, so honestly, that whole thing might be a blessing in disguise. It depends if people are really excited to see that again, because most people who watch me now haven't really seen or then the Pixelmon stuff, which is weird because that Pixelmon series came out around the time that I got my my biggest boost at the time. It's not my biggest boost anymore, but my biggest boost in terms of subscribers on the channel. Viewership wise, it didn't actually do too well. I later found out that the subscriber boost was really because of the voice acting auditions I was doing around the same time that were garnering a lot of attention, and I myself was getting a lot of attention as a gacha voice actor. So yeah. So yeah, but it was kind of curious to see, because people seem to still watch the Pixelmon videos. So I can at least get a few people to be interested in that video, and actually they can watch it in one day rather than having to take so many breaks. I don't know. Maybe it'll work out, but then I'm gonna have to render it again, and I might not do that until after the holidays, because I need some render space and some stream space to do some other stuff, because now I'm one Christmas gacha thing behind. Not to mention, also I need to watch the Disco Pops anniversary episode, well, part 2. And speaking of that, actually, that leads me nicely onto my next point. There was an issue on that same day with my Breeders premiering. There was one particular 5 Years Later episode that just did not want to premiere at all. And I later found out the reason was just because I didn't seem to want to upload on Opera GX. I wanted to upload on Google Chrome instead. Which, you know, some people might align that to some sort of conspiracy of YouTube decreasing its options on other rival browsers or something, or I don't know, whatever. You can draw your own conclusions there. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist myself. Who knows? Google can be up to nefarious things, you never know. Oh my goodness, those feet are still massive. I forgot all about them. Don't think about this place. This was one of the parks in question. As for this was the light display I was referring to. I think I like to walk away into the park itself. Okay, I won't disturb the area then. I'll just put it in frame as best I can. There we go. And then have some other other lights in there, because why not? It's not quite the Albert Dock in Liverpool, but it's something. Oh, Albert Dock doesn't have hanging presents, that's for sure. There you go. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, issues with premieres. And it turns out that Disco Pop's episode also had the exact same issues at the exact same time. So yeah, who knows? It might not have been I don't know. It's interesting because, like, you know, clearing up the browser cache is like one of the things that they tell you to do to help with premieres or something, or just re-upload the video. In my case, I did both, so maybe it was the re-upload that worked and not the browser change. I honestly could not tell you. I have no idea. So, but as far as that goes, Johnny, I don't know if he managed to do it in the end. The video itself is up and visible, but it doesn't seem to. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have premiered. I look at the live chat and it says, and people are saying there that it didn't work. So he was premiering at the same time as me, so I didn't really see him in person myself. But yeah, he didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It was very bizarre. Could not tell you what was going on there. Ah, this is the Christmassy display. I think this has got to mean beats, honestly. Okay. Da 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 da. Oh, I forgot about that. Speaking of Godalming, that's where we were for a pantomime this week. So yeah, I guess moving on. I hope Johnny solved that, but I'm probably going to watch that today, I think. Either that or the Misty Firefox News. There's apparently Christmas, even though it was made in July. I don't know if I should trust Josh on that fact or not. I really don't know. So, pantomime this week. That's the non-YouTube news. Just my mum and I went to that. Not the usual one that we went to, but you know what? Sometimes, yeah, it's interesting. It's like Act 1, they didn't seem to be really too into it. It was the story of Dick Whittington, incidentally. Who, if you don't know, he was actually 4 times Lord Mayor of London, even though the stories always say thrice because that's just more fun to say. But yeah, there's like a whole thing about usually he and his cats rid the city of rats and other stuff goes on, and then somehow his story has morphed into pantomime versions with lots of triumphs of good and evil. We watched one in Liverpool actually one time. Soon after I read the book about him, well, a book. It was a children's book that was part of a set that my mum was doing, because my mum used to volunteer at my primary school in Spain with this book exchange program where, depending on your different reading levels, as determined by her, I believe, that you could the people would swap around. They'd be like, oh yeah, read this book in English and then bring it back the next week and such. And then if you were in from 1st to 4th of primary, which would be years 2 to 5 over here, and 1st to 4th grade in the US. You've got in your particular groups, you'd be taken, depending on like a certain time or something, from one of your lessons, and you were able to we had a little bit of a read, a little bit of storytell in English. And that's where I invented the sagas of, well, no, I didn't invent the sagas of the bird in the box that could speak Spanish. That was actually my dad, who told us that one time as a bedtime story, and then I turned it into a whole saga. Which, considering I'm looking for audio drama ideas now, could actually try and revive, but then again, I don't know how well that would go down. Not sure. That was his technique to teach us Spanish when we first arrived in Spain, but then it backfired because then I later made it an excuse to speak Spanish in the stories themselves. We would narrate that it's only the bird who spoke Spanish, and the girl who found the bird in the box who would speak back to it. So all the narration was in English. It was all about where you want to go today, and then what you want to do today, really, and then say like, oh, I'll go to the park. Girl would fall asleep, wake up in the park, have a fun day, would return eventually, stuff like that. Honestly, would make a decent children's book series, not gonna lie. Should workshop that one. Maybe get one of the people that I know to actually illustrate that, considering that I know quite a few artists nowadays. But okay, you know what? Ideas for later. Point is, that was going on, but during one of the exchanges I got the book on Mr. Thrice Lord Mayor of London, and so I knew the story going into the pantomime. So I was surprised when it turned out there was like a huge thing about good versus evil, like a huge epic narration at the beginning. I know, and this year pantomime was no exception. Of course, with every pantomime, you have to have certain character archetypes that come up. You have of the main two, the hero, the heroine. Then of course you have the dame, which is usually a man cross-dressing. Huge presence in the story. Essentially the huge. In case anyone's really into drag, which honestly nowadays a lot of people are, more so than ever. That's the part for you, I believe. Then there's of course the comic relief, and naturally the villain. This time the villain was King Rat. That's probably the only part that's somewhat reminiscent of the ridding the rats and stuff that went on. They added a few more characters in there that were out of nowhere, but that was mostly in Act 2. Act 2 is where it got really good. Act 1, it was the matinee, so they might have been suffering through a few matinee blues. That happens a lot. And then they really got into their groove later, because the energy wasn't there in the first one. The writing mainly was. And I will say the comic relief guy, he was really bringing his A game, particularly. And one of my favourite editions of pantomimes actually also is that they'll do parodies of actual songs. Don't know if they license them. I'm not gonna pry. Ask no questions, I'll tell no lies. That kind of thing. But oh look, it's my first Astor that I ever went to, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, but usually the parodies are quite mild, so they'll change a couple of words to kind of suit the actual suit the story. But yeah, there's a few ones where they actually go the full extent. Like there was a parody of "You Got to Pick a Pocket or Two" from Oliver, which was all about you got to wash a doggy or two, and you have all this laundry knowledge and stuff. They had an actual dog on stage as well, I should mention that too. So they pulled out all the stops, even if the energy wasn't there at first. But yeah, highlights were definitely the gotta wish a doggy or two. Ratilda, the work experience girl, who working under King Rat, who actually had surprisingly a lot of stage presence. Like for somebody who was like because with pantomimes, it's usually like an all-age group. So they'll have kids in like bit parts and stuff. I don't think Ratilda had a single line, but still stood out to me as one of the highlights of Act 1. It was her, the comic relief guy, whose name was Jack in the play, and one more person. Oh, and the cat. Again, a character who doesn't speak. But there was a lady in cat attire, which I say cat attire is more like from the musical Cats attire, I would say. But yeah, fully committed, and I guess because you have to, that's the whole part you have to do, like, in the body. I guess that makes sense. So yeah. What else? But yeah, Act 2 is where it really, really got good. Immediately we're introduced to Captain Seabass, who I believe was just a new actor who came on, who came on like just then, before then I didn't have any parts in Act 1, other than possibly chorus ones. And yeah, your typical flamboyant seafaring captain. And yeah, very much the side of good, very well to do. I don't know how to describe really. Just a whole bombastic personality of his own, really. Then there was also sorry, I was looking for cars. Wondering. Once again, everyone is leaving the shopping centre rather than showing up to it. I might be here for a while. Oh, thank you. Never mind. The kindness of strangers, am I right? Okay. Yeah. So and the first song of Act 2, that's kind of like the big cumulative song that they have. And that one, I'm not sure if it's like an actual thing or they just do this every year. Because in the Ivanano Panto, which one we all sometimes go to, we actually there's actually a song they do every year, which was like, you know, on the first day of Christmas, insert character's name, main character's name here. They gave to me a bra that was meant to hold 3, and then there's like 2 pairs of wellies and a bra, you know, that kind of thing. So they changed that. They changed those up. They have to throw around the other costume every time. It gets crazier and crazier because people just like throwing stuff from one side. There's like 5 custard pies every time, so then the comic relief character always gets sacked with pie. Considering that's done every night, I'm very impressed with the commitment there. But yeah, this cumulative song, I think we actually prefer, maybe because we've seen the first one a bunch of times. But yeah, this one particularly, to try to take Jack's mind off his seasickness, and it was to do with it was all about, you know, what you would do if you weren't at sea. You know, it's like, if I were something not at sea, here's what I would be. If I were currently not at sea, a traffic warden I'd be. Yeah. They'd hear me all day long as I sing my song, something like that. And then that's where the custom side comes in. So the first person went, you can't park here, you can't park there, double yellow lines, and then repeat that. And then after that verse, next person joins in and says something else. You know, dig a hole here, dig a hole there, something, can't remember. While the playing person's going, you can't park here, you can't park there, double yellow lines. And of course, because that's the very nature of music, it's all timed and all to the rhythm. In fact, their choreography is completely in sync too. I love that kind of song, especially singing it on stage. So yeah, my mum even whispered to me that was good. Like right after we'd essentially trash talked the first act, we both agreed that's where it really got good. It kind of stayed there. It was kind of bizarre to make kind of bizarre to, like, afterwards they actually get marooned in King Rat's on the ship with them, by the way. They don't really, and they get marooned on an island of secret jam makers, which is an interesting diversion. I thought it was gonna be a diversion typical of, like, you know, your Greek hero quests and such. Well, they'll encounter some sort of side challenge to complete before they have the final showdown. As it turns out, no, that was where the climax was supposed to happen. Incidentally, I think a pantomime based around a Greek hero might actually be somewhat interesting. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, so it was all about these jam makers, and then the actual character who probably stole the show came in. not the jam, not Ma, who was meant to be like the leader of the ladies who make the jam, but her second in command, Mistress Marmite, who just gave 1,000,000%.
The typical, like, snarling character here, yes. Let's boil them in jam.
Or something like that. They don't actually boil them in jam. Apparently that was a misdirection, but whatever. And then just at the end, they just lazily go, oh yeah, Miss Marmite, yeah, she's nice now. Meanwhile, Jack is standing next to her going, okay. There's a lot of loose ends that get tied up very quickly towards the end, so that's one thing I'll say against Act 2. But yeah, then afterwards, there's Tommy the cat has a confrontation with all of the rats, who of course were some of the children from before, and then King Rat comes in, and actually it's not the good old thrice Lord Mayor of London who actually has the face off. It's actually Alice. There's a little bit of social commentary. Alice, by the way, is the main love interest, and also the one who opens up the show. Yeah, so she arguably had a bit more presence than most other people. And there was this whole commentary about oh, it's bad luck on a ship with a woman on board. Oh, it's 1721. We shouldn't be adhering to these old stereotypes and get interrupted every time. It's like, you do it once, whatever. You do it twice, it's like, okay, we get the punchline now, I will say, as far as 1721 goes, that came back to bite them a couple of times. Because one of the jokes at the end is that Jack is going to go start a bakery at Pudding Lane. What could possibly go wrong? Of course, implying, classic old school London. Except Pudding Lane caught fire in 1666, as most school children over here know. Therefore, their target audience. So, yeah, it does seem kind of strange they go with that. Also, I think there was one other time. Oh, yeah, that's right, because there was probably the most poor taste joke in the actual show was that they actually some of the lifeboats, the life rafts they had, they said not the lifeboats, the lifesavers they actually said RMS Titanic. I don't actually know if they did that same theatre group did another production about the Titanic, but yeah, it was definitely not even built in 1721. It wasn't even a twinkle in the architect's eye, because the architect did not exist, wherever they were. So, yeah. And then they just kind of, wrap it up on the island. And then, of course, you're expecting Dick Whittington to actually become Lord Mayor of London, because that's, the famous line of the story. And they just bring on the chain and the coat at the end. And also, bear in mind, this is right after Alice has had the confidence with King Rat and has been left aside. Dick Whittington decides to actually make a speech at the end, even though he's got all the credit. And he says, "I'm getting to you. And then it turns out the only thing that Alice gets is a marriage proposal from him, and he's still the one who's celebrated. So yeah, she just seems to kind of forget all about the commentary that she was doing. So it wasn't paid off at all. I don't understand. So yeah, I know. So the conclusion was a bit strange. I'm really not sure. So yeah, not the best pantomime in the world, but certainly not the worst. Absolutely worth going to see. And definitely probably something that kicked off the holiday magic for me. But then of course it was actually short-sighted by a bunch of the projects and stuff. Which I'm going to get back to one last thing to do with that, and then I'm going to wrap this up because it's gone on for quite a while. I need to actually give time to have this upload. So Okay. So the Nekoet song was supposed to come out yesterday. Normally, every December 20th or 21st, I actually, I upload an AFMAL parody. It's become one of the only yearly traditions I actually care about nowadays, because the final countdown is no longer a thing that I do every year. As of last year, no one even knows what that thing is anyway, because I'm constantly getting new audience. So so that's done. But now, but the Nekoet song is something that I promised a long time ago in a VOD, and then the VOD came out recently, so the promise was reinvigorated. And I had to restart it because there's some of that I actually lost the progress and then got demotivated for. It's probably the longest I've taken on a song in forever. As one of my cousins is keen to point out, I was able to write a prototype song, first verse and chorus, in 20 minutes. But that's not always the case, especially when I'm doing the actual thing. And then afterwards, I went through because I realized, because obviously I'm not singing it this year because it's Nekoet. Emily and Quadzy have both got really good Nekoet impressions, so I kind of I said they both could sing it. Either I would choose one of them at the end, or I'll mix the pair of them together. I don't actually know yet because neither of them have sent it in, because one of them needs to practice a bit more, hype herself up. The other one had to actually get used to the lyrics and the syllabic structure, which actually is a problem that I haven't had since Siren Story, which is of course the last time I got other people to sing my songs. I mean, this one's a parody, so it was meant to be, was already designed in a way that was recognizable. But I've noticed that I still do the thing where I add a couple of maybe like I change one like demi semi-quaver into like a hemi demi semi-quaver or something in the middle of somewhere. Or was it a semi-quaver into a hemi demi semi-quaver? I'm not sure. Either way, I don't always match them up 100%, but I only do it towards the beginning usually, because that's where it's more inconspicuous where you do it. Because if you do it towards the end, it's like, okay, you're playing loose with the rhyme, and that's not satisfactory. So I guess that's why. So I keep telling you it's towards the end, but of course if they're focused on like how the original song goes, and they get towards the end, they find themselves having extra. So it's all about making sure that people are acknowledge that part. I don't know. Again, I'm gonna have a lot of people are gonna have more respect for Wings after this, particularly Emily, as I mentioned before, because Emily is very keen to poo-poo Aiden's version of Wings. Rightly so to an extent. I mean, you know, the meme has run its course potentially, but you know, still sometimes still gets a laugh between us because, you know, we just don't move on. But yeah, I had to actually stop Emily from doing the same thing that got Aiden in that situation in the first place. If people don't know, what Aiden did was he used my vocals in the track that I sent him as a demo for how the song was supposed to be sung. And because he did that, based on just human reaction time alone, he was slightly behind when he did his actual version. I didn't process the audio, so next time he's going to do a song, he will send it to me. It just so happened in season 2, the song that was done was actually Harvey, so we didn't need to worry about that. Yeah, so not too much of an issue there. But yeah, for this one, yeah, I am trying. I did try in the Nekoet song to adhere to a bit more of a just some sort of more syllabic coherency, I should say. I don't know. It's because yeah, matching syllables is an important skill, but yeah, having that little bit of extra freedom really does do wonders. And from what I've heard people who have listened to my songs, I do remember a quote by one of my friends from sixth form, where he said that, you know how a lot of parodies only change a couple of words here and there, or they don't match up with the rhythm? Sean's do neither of those. People don't know Sean's my real name. So clearly, it just gave credence to what I said before, all these years where I talk about like the meter being important as well as the rhymes. In fact, even before I knew what the word meter was, I learnt that in year 9 when I was